Time travel is interesting to me because it's one of the most vastly complex ideas to really get your head around, and everyone has their own idea about it. Everyone thinks of time travel in a very personal sense, or they think of it in a very narrative sense, because, I mean, let's face it, all of our ideas from time travel have really been shaped from science fiction novels and science fiction films, such as Back to the Future or maybe Doctor Who. I'm sorry, I'm talking really fast, but I just get so excited. See, I remember watching Back to the Future when I was like 7, 8, and the scene where Doc is trying to explain what's happened with the paradox, and it's just one of the most difficult things to really get your head around. Time travel is moving between 2 points in time, as if you were moving between 2 points in space. As if my dresser over there was 1800s, and that was now, and I could just move between them, the same as moving between my dresser and my closet. One of the first examples of time travel in science fiction was The Tale of Hiroshima Taro, which I actually saw at a theater conference. They did a play of it, and it was not extremely good, but it is a really good story. It's about an old man who goes into the sea, just giving you a basic plot synopsis, and he comes out of the sea, who just maybe a day has passed, but he comes back 200 years later, or at least that's how the play did it, and his whole family is dead. And it's one of the first examples of really traveling into the future, even though it's not how really we think of traveling to the future, because when we picture time travel, we think of a time machine, and that's not exactly the theories that are popular. One of the most popular theories about traveling into the past is the fact that you have a timeline. This is an example of your life, or maybe humanity, or maybe the history of the world, or the history of the universe, and it's all here in this one line. Let's put this on a graph. All things are 1 to 1, or in very, very layman's terms, it would pass a sort of vertical line test. Traveling into the past would be done in this sense. You have your timeline going straight across, but you also have this curve right here, done in very nice red crayon. It goes around, it would come back, and it could touch your actual original timeline. So that's a very popular idea about how time travel would work, but when you're thinking about all these theories, you think, okay, how do I get this red crayon? How does that happen? We don't know. We don't know how you get this red crayon, but people are thinking about it, and I just think that's awesome. One of my favorite ideas about how time travel would work is the wormhole. This side of the paper represents 1763. And this side of the paper represents 2011. Fold these 2 points in space and time over, and they match up. Have you ever read Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass? It's a lot like that. It's a wormhole between 2 points in time. One of the most common misconceptions about time travel is that forwards time travel into the future and backwards time travel are the same thing, when in reality, you have this graph. Now, in order to travel to the past, one of the most common theories would be that you have that curve that goes around, as I showed in red crayon. But if you're getting to the future, you don't need that curve. You're not getting back around. You're getting from point A to point B. You need to get to point B before your normal self would get to point B on your normal timeline. Hawking suggested that there are natural laws in nature that suggest this is absolutely impossible, but it doesn't stop people from thinking about it. People are thinking, if the universe is expanding, it can still be rotating, and if the universe is rotating, then you can get from one point in time to the other point in time and return to a normal point in space because the world will be in the same position. I had to calm myself down. The idea that you could travel faster than the speed of light is obviously an idea of how you would get to the future before your normal timeline. The fact that we have these curves and we have these wormholes, it doesn't really mean that much because we don't know how to get there. There is still point in debating it, obviously, but there are natural laws that prevent this sort of thing, and it doesn't make it any less fascinating for me. I still appreciate the fact that we had an idea that was used in science fiction and literature, and people wanted to explore it. We think something up, and we want to prove it. I know what you're thinking. Nancy Wren, what about Stephen Hawking's idea that the greatest proof we don't have time technology in the future is that we don't have tourists in the future? Well, I only think that disproves one type of time travel, not all sorts of time travel. That disproves the idea that you would go back into your own timeline, but if you go back into the past in a different dimension, you could still create time travel and live on your own curve. But you would go back into another dimension and see yourself. Maybe that's not our dimension. Maybe the fact that we don't see people from the future is, oh my god, I sound absolutely crazy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I promise. I just find this really, really interesting. Paradoxes are a very, very valid thing to research, and I think they're really they're very appropriate to talk about when you're talking about time travel, because people need to be aware of the fact that time travel is a very, very fragile thing, and if it ever were to exist, which it doesn't, still making that clear, I think it would be very, very appropriate to research what you could change and what could affect other things. I have to stop because I'm running out of time, but I will see you Monday, Sonnet. Bye!